Tune in to the Fintech Files for exclusive interviews with fintech executives and thought leaders. This is your host, George Alaferis from Arama.
So today I'm talking to Anthony Munns, Head of Digital at 8TOPUZ, a wealth fintech providing an AI trading software for the foreign exchange market. Anthony, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, George. A pleasure to be here. Thank you.
So you're talking to us from sunny Cyprus, but can I please ask first a little bit about your career and what brought you to fintech?
Yeah, I've been kind of in digital marketing since very early 2000s. I did a degree in television production and engineering, ended up working in live television, had a lot of spare time because I worked in football. So typically my Wednesday and Saturday was my work day, paid relatively decent money, as good as most full-time jobs for the 2 days work. So I had a lot of spare time. This was back in the almost pre-social media days. So I was going around my local town at the time after finishing university saying, do you want video? And some said yes, but most said, do you do websites? And I didn't do websites, but I said yes. So I kind of learned how to do web design. I chose WordPress as my platform. Long story short, everybody wanted digital marketing. I learned SEO, paid advertising, Google ads, Facebook ads, pretty much everything to do with marketing. Q 2020, I've ran an agency in the UK and Cyprus, worked with tons of different clients on marketing automation, email marketing, video campaigns, all sorts of different campaigns. And I was pulled in, I'm in Limassol in Cyprus been in Cyprus 7 years, in Limassol for 4 years. And this location is real hot for Forex, as you probably know, and a little bit of fintech, but mainly the Forex industry is huge here. And I just saw it as an opportunity to benchmark my skills against these guys, see how good they were, and get a full-time job, and have a little bit of a safety net instead of trying to run agencies, which can be quite challenging when you tend to do it by yourself. So I jumped ship and did the whole 9-to-5 thing, worked for a company called Easy Markets, who are possibly one of the very well-respected companies in the sector. Learned a lot about App Store optimization there, and that pulled me into the finance sector. So another 3 years later, I ended up working and speaking to some guys from 8TOPUZ. Really liked their mentality, what they were doing, the opportunities they were presenting to people, and the vision that they had. And so I ended up in the fintech space. So that's the kind of route that I ended up in fintech via Forex, via general marketing, shall we say.
Right, and we should definitely explore more these areas of marketing and fintech. But first, can you tell us a bit more about the Cyprus scene and why, for those that aren't aware of it, why is it an attractive place for Forex and specific industries?
Yeah, I think it's a favourable tax system here. It's historically attracted quite a lot of Eastern Europeans, the Russian market, the Russian investors, a lot of Israeli guys here, a lot of Israeli investors, and they've typically built between them. Probably the Israelis are particularly strong in terms of pushing the Forex sector, and that's over. I guess it's something around 10 years or more. It's more really, but. It's just become a very attractive place for tax, for the fact of the quality of life, and the fact that you've got a pool of talent that over the years has understood that this is an opportunity for people. So it's now got people from all over the world, but mainly Europeans, working in the whole Forex industry. So there's obviously lots of different types of jobs, and it's become a kind of place that's supportive of the Forex industry. They've got the CISEC here, one of the governing bodies kind of is based here, which allows you to access the EU market. It's relatively well respected globally. So it's become a hotbed. Yeah, Limassol is probably the place for Forex, and the fintech space has emerged. It's a little bit slower than perhaps the UK and possibly other countries. I see Estonia doing exceptionally well for a small country, and I think, to be perfectly honest, the Cypriot government needs to support the fintech space more, because the Forex industry is it's not doing particularly well at the moment, and there's a little bit of a negative air hanging around that in some aspects. So it would be wise for the government to support the fintech space and companies like us, but really it's down to the private sector, who are managing the kind of meetings and the networking and doing the pushing to kind of leverage that kind of scene, and the people that perhaps can benefit from it, and the companies that have got ideas and they want to get new talent. So yeah, it's a funny place. It's a unique place, is Cyprus, and Limassol in particular.
Yeah, and you could think that now with all the talk, I don't know if you follow the San Francisco moving to Miami and Austin, there's a lot of talk about that.
Yeah,
We definitely see, working from further away in a different light since the pandemic. So I guess there's a lot more opportunities. Tax aside, I think of, I remember my time in Cyprus, we discussed earlier, and I remember it was very, very sunny. So, and it's an island, so there's the sea everywhere. So that's something. But let's move
absolutely.
on to more into the core of our conversation. And I see your background, marketing, but also lecturing. So you've taught marketing, and I wanted to see how that influences your approach to marketing at 8TOPUZ, which is your main role now. Do you see yourself as an educator for your prospects?
Yeah, I mean, I think as a relatively mature marketer now who's gone through and tried every aspect of marketing and, realize that there's not one size fits all. You need to really look holistically at marketing to understand how to benefit from advertising and marketing, two slightly separate skills. So as far as I'm concerned, pretty much in any aspect, marketing is about communication. It's about understanding people's needs, their scratch their itches, work out the value and the offer that you have for your product, and make sure that you explain that in the simplest possible terms, so they can just start to understand what you offer and what you can potentially help them with. So they make a little bit of investment in time to learn a bit more about your product. So education is obviously key. In the finance sector, trust is key. So I think if you're hiding things, if you're trying to claim you have the best solution to something, people see through all this. It's clearly we're a relatively educated audience now online, and especially the people we would like to target and the people we would like as clients. We don't treat them as idiots. We treat them as people who are curious and they want the facts and they want knowledge. And so education, it naturally aligns with my affinity, my skill set, and what I believe is the right way to attract people and convert people.
Right, and I'm also curious about the role of the marketer in a fintech organization, because typically it's not the first hire, right? Like you said, you arrived in 8TOPUZ when they were up and running for a few years now. So what do you think? Do you think there's a stage when fintechs must move more into marketing? And what do you think is the, let's say, overall outlook of the company now that they have a marketer like you on board?
Yeah, I think it happens with a lot of companies. If you have a startup mentality and a group of guys that develop a product or a service, they tend to get too close to the product or service, and they don't realize that other people don't understand what they're doing as clearly as they assume they do. And it's one thing I see so often. And I saw a great product, basically a great start at communicating what the product was, but it was coming so much from the guy's background. So I was like, guys, this is very tradey. I wasn't sure initially when I first got in there exactly what the product was meaning and who the target audience was. Over the time, we've had a lot of chats, and I've pushed towards more of the softer approach, the benefits rather than the technology. So I'm not really interested in the technology so much. It's more about, just bear with me a second. It's more about explaining the benefits and doing it on a soft basis. So the technology is important. We elaborate on that, but we've had a new redesign in the last week or two, and I know the uptake on people's interest is just completely different. They're more receptive. They're understanding the product more because we've humanized it. We don't talk technology. We've got lovely pictures. We've got a great designer who's working with us, and she's done a fantastic job of working with us to make sure that we kind of attract the millennials, but we're pretty much attracting anybody, traders, institutions, and what we call retail, which is your average man on the street who's perhaps suffering from not being able to save much money because the traditional routes like the banks are non-existent really for gaining any interest on your savings. So yeah, it's been I think this is common with many startups that they have a great product, they bring it to market, doesn't work, they're like, God, man, I don't know why it's not working. We know it's fantastic, but they're not communicating the value in a level that is not their brain. It's the other people's brains, their audience's brain. So they don't know their audience properly because they just don't fully understand it. That's just a startup. And second, they're communicating in language that only they understand. So I think it's been a very useful relationship for me to get in there, start to strip back some of the complexities. And I'm not a trader, so I understand finance, I understand trading, but I'm not a trader. So I think that kind of knowledge has helped to steer the kind of marketing and communication to a different level.
Really interested to see how the website looked before. Now we'll put the link, of course. Now, well, for people who cannot see it, it's more, I would say, lifestyle picture with nice drawings, which is not perhaps what I had in mind straight away when talking about AI Forex trading,
Yep.
But it's exactly to the point that you made. And it looks great, so well done on that.
Yeah, we've got a great designer there. He's done a fantastic job. So we work together, all of us, but between us all, I think we've done a really good job. Yeah.
And so let's talk a little bit more now about 8TOPUZ, and tell us a bit about, if you can tell us a bit about the FX market for those that are not too aware of it, and then what does the company do?
Yeah, sure. So we work in the FX market just because it's got such huge liquidity. We work with the major pairs as we don't work with lots of different pairs. The key is we have, and I'm not an expert in this, so this is me talking in relatively layman's terms. But the key is for us and the AI and the machine learning. I know a little bit about this, and I've been told by the team. We need the data. The great thing about the Forex market is it's got tons of historical data. So we've been able to use that on the early stages of formulating the software to start to build the algos out, and the algorithms and the AI and the machine learning all working together with the team that we have. And they've been able to develop the product, tweak it, and sort of standardize it to some degree, but keep looking at it and keep adapting and letting it become a more mature product and hopefully profitable for clients. That we never guarantee anything, but it's so far producing for the last 2 years an average of 20% a year, and before that we were actually higher, but we were tweaking the system a little bit. It was kind of pre-release almost then. So we're happy with the results, and the team are working really well.
And you mentioned that it's for retail, but it's also for institutional clients. So perhaps my question should be, who is it not for? Because, well, obviously there must be some caveats and some risk associated with it. So can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, to really answer this in a very basic sense, it's not for people that want to put in, let's say, your scalper type traders and your day traders. It's not for those guys. They're constantly looking. Sometimes your account may be down. This is just the way it works. But the fact of the matter is, over the month, we'll generate 1%, 2%, 3%. So it's not for those that are looking for quick wins at all. It's about understanding that our system works all through the markets on a full cycle basis. So it's not looking for quick wins. It's looking to stay in the position, and then over the course of the positions that are open based on the ability of their account, the idea is we win more than we lose. It's very, very simple. So if you're a kind of, let's say you're a day trader, you will probably not be interested in this unless you understand that this is a different system and you want to just diversify your trading options. You definitely, but you can't come into it from that mentality. Equally, if you're retail, let's say you're the average guy on the street, and you're perhaps just wanting to put it in for a month or so, it's really not really the kind of product for us. We're looking for medium to long term. 6 months plus is really the kind of time period that we're able to prove that this is working and it's a genuine alternative investment option. So there's not really anyone that we would say no to. If you're completely risk averse, you don't like any risk, no, we're not going to be the product for you. There's some risk involved, obviously. Yeah.
Can you talk us a bit through as well how the process works? So let's say I've got the amount, I see, or maybe I'm representing an institutional investor, my company, there you go, has a few $100,000 to invest. So how do I start? And then what do I do through the process? Or do we just sit and watch? Can you tell us?
Yeah, No, we're working on some technology. Currently, we have a client portal. You will work with our integration team. So you'll basically what you'll do is you'll open an account with 8TOPUZ. You will choose a broker that we can recommend, or not necessarily recommend. We have broker partners that we've already partnered with, and you can have a look at those guys. Maybe based on your jurisdiction and where you want your broker to be. If you already got an existing broker and it has an MT4 platform, usually there's absolutely no problem. We can apply the software onto that existing account, and basically, you can look into your account daily and have a look at everything. But because it's kind of just constantly doing trades, we don't recommend it. It's kind of an automated investment option. So typically, most of the clients who are retail would probably look in once a month, just see how they've done. Institutions, again, it's a case of managing and looking at the account as much as you want, but typically they're probably not logging in too often. They're just letting the algorithm do the job and checking the results every month, because that's kind of the best way to do it. Otherwise, you can just get confused with all the data happening, or and make some perhaps not practical decisions based on that. So it works in. It's software, so it's literally our own software that we apply to the account, and it's really simple. If you haven't got an account, you just open a broker's account, you deposit the amount you want, and we deploy the software, and that's it. You have that software working on your behalf, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little bit more than opening a bank account. It's sure. You have to open a broker account.
Yeah, well, I was curious to see as well how much, how involved you have to be. And I see it very much as potentially something which diversifies the portfolio if you have a sufficient asset, because not many people are naturally invested or using FX, right? So
exactly.
But then the question that goes with that, so if I have a software that's trading my real money, is how about the risk management side of things, and what if things go wrong?
Sure, we have we set a drawdown which you will agree to, which is like the amount of trades that are open that could potentially lose or could potentially win. We have a drawdown that you will agree, which is a percentage of the capital that you've invested, and that just safeguards us from having a complete disaster, and you to have the ability to be flexible and for the opportunities, as well as to make sure that your risk is a little bit mitigated should something happen that would potentially be a problem for your account. We also have human intervention when things are needed. So it is automated, but we do have experienced traders that can go in there and just keep an eye on things if an event happened in the world or something unexpected. But to be perfectly honest, typically we like volatility. Our AI actually works better with volatility. So like in March, in the COVID pandemic period this year, the start, I think stocks and shares averaged about 20% loss for March. We did 5%, 5 or more percent actually, I think. So it was one of our best performing months because the volatility was great for us because we got loads of data and we were able to work with that. So it's just that's how we manage risk. So it's very much risk managed. We want our clients to realize a profit, but when we want them to be responsible about what risk they expose themselves to and be transparent about the potential of losing some, we don't win all trades. That's not how it works.
And so, if we talk more about the growth of the company, where do you see maybe the main opportunities and also the main marketing challenges for 8TOPUZ?
Yeah, we have a lot of we've got a really cool application coming out. We've partnered with leading in kind of AI-based intelligence application. So it's looking at sentiment analysis. They're very much the leaders in the world. It's a little bit hush-hush right now, but we're releasing that in, we hope, Q1 of 2021. We'll be working with broker partners on this as a retention tool and as an ability to be able to execute and take kind of sentiment analysis and actually execute from within the application. So it's going to be unbelievable, like something nobody really has. We're really looking forward to that. It's a great partnership. We're also looking to diversify our product suite. We have the dynamic account, which will be opening soon in our product suite. We've got currently the lifestyle and Aspire. So these are products that people can join with relatively small amount of money. The dynamic will be some kind of a fund. It'll be blended with different assets. So it'll be more attractive to perhaps institutions. We're also looking at banking licenses and being able to just manage investments in a more professional way, shall we say. So we currently work on a partnership with the brokers. We do all the legality perfectly well. It's all completely above board, but we want to expand 8TOPUZ as a product. We think there's a lot more we can offer to the market. And we want to use financial technology as a means to get there. Clearly, when you're a relatively new company, our challenges have always been communication and trust. So this is why I'm doing the podcast. This is why I'm speaking to cool guys like you. We just want to have a face and humanize the brand, because we're here for the long term. We're not, we're doing something fantastic. It's relatively unique. And the more content we produce that's high quality and it helps people understand what we do, it's clearly for us. We know it works, because everybody said, your content's fantastic. We're loving listening to your podcasts. We're loving your blog posts, and it's helping us just to go, yeah, I'm interested. Let's just knock on the door and have a little conversation. So it's working for us, and we have obviously lots of good ideas for partnerships and working with people, influencers, and this sort of type of people, and also traditional advertising, search engine optimization, and the usual kind of stuff.
Yes, to go back to this podcast of yours, which we'll put the details, of course. So it's called the 8TOPUZ podcast, I think. It's
called Octopod, but yeah, the
Octopod. Sorry.
Little play on words. Yeah.
I would be interested to see how the conversation went when you pitched that into the founders, and also how the conversation is ongoing in terms of maybe calculating the ROI on a podcast like this, which I'm sure it's great, but it might be difficult to quantify.
It's very difficult to quantify. The founders are really cool. What I like is they respect my knowledge, my deep expertise, without sounding too big-headed. I kind of know what I'm doing. I've done a lot of different things in marketing. And I said all along, this isn't something that's going to see results. We're definitely not going to be able to quantify them. And we're just going to have to go on almost what I call a loss leader. So for the last 6 months or so, 4 or 5 months, we've just been speaking to cool people, amazing people like yourself, really quite big people in different sectors, from insurtech to God knows what, all parts of financial technology. And I've learned a lot personally. And the good thing about it is we now have a really well-established podcast. It's all about thought leadership. So as far as I always think about user journeys. So if people find our website, if they're interested, they're typically going to start browsing around the website. Now, if they come across the podcast, in my opinion, it's what I call a collateral marketing asset. So it's like a +1. If it's a poor podcast and we come across arrogant or distrustful, it's a -1. But we're not actually even selling our product most of the time on there. We're literally talking to people in the industry. It's a trust building exercise. It humanizes the brand. We get to tap into other people's audiences who aren't necessarily going to become clients, but we're leveraging their audience, and we're getting it's one of these scales. Excuse me, my cameras. So it's like this, it's not a linear scale. I see this happen with blog posting and all sorts. You kind of start small, and then it hits a critical mass, and you have a logarithmic scale of benefits. If I can give you a KPI on that and any kind of ROI, impossible. But there's no vanity metrics there, but we have good listens. We have good amount of listeners. It's growing for sure. And lots of people are saying, we found your podcast. And I'm like, well, they've actually found it before we even told them about it. So something's happening, and we're not particularly promoting it heavily because we wanted to establish it a little bit more and get the new website out of the way. So we've got a new agenda now to push the content, and because we feel that the communication, the user journey, and the entry points are a bit clearer now. So things will ramp up a little bit quicker.
Educating has such an important positive result in the end.
Yeah, it does. No, there's no doubt about it. I think people are now, we consume content, there's channels everywhere, and people are bombarded with adverts. And if you're not giving something of value, which is just your time, usually time to explain something, people are looking for answers. So I think education is clearly it's a really important part of marketing nowadays. I think direct marketing is absolutely fine if you've got a product that you can sell due to just really good copywriting or really good whatever profit margins, whatever it might be. But most people, when they're talking about investments, bear in mind we're in the finance industry, so we need to make sure that any money we spend is not just in front of people who don't know the brand and don't digest the brand. We want people to digest the brand because we're building a brand, and this is one of my big passions. I'm a digital marketer who's realized the power of the brand over the last 6-7 years of my life. And so I'm really all about building a brand, humanizing brands, and that's a really key part of 8TOPUZ. I think that's where we stand above any we don't think we really have a competitor necessarily because we're a little bit in a kind of special niche. But I look at a lot of the people that are perhaps similar to us, and they're doing really good stuff. But I think we have a strong brand, and it's partly to do with the humanizing factor and just the way we approach things.
Wonderful. I think that's a great conclusion. Wonderful. Well, Anthony, thank you so much for being part of the Fintech Files. It's been great to speak to you. And all
Thank
the
you,
best.
George. Yeah. Thank you very much, George, for your time. Cheers. Bye.
Thanks for listening, and thank you to our guests who make this possible. Subscribe to never miss an episode. As this is a new broadcast, if you could give us a 5-star review on iTunes and your favorite podcast player, that would be great. Let's work together to accelerate fintech towards the 2030s.